Yes. Hello, everyone. Good evening. A warm welcome for everyone. Uh, right. So, in today's session, we have covered till the conditional statements. So, today's session, we are going. Yes, I'll be going with full screen. Let me go with the introduction. Right. So, in the today's session, we have considered about the controls, the conditional statements. Today, we are going to consider about the control statements. So, what are the control statements? How to deal with these control statements? Let's look over today over here. Right. So, I have considered this particular thing. The control statements. Right. So, please look into the screen over here. Right. Yeah. Screen. So control statements do consist of two things. One is a for loop and second one is a while loop. For loop and while loop would be there, right? So what is this for loop? How to do with this for loop is, so coming into the topic, in the yesterday's session we have considered about the if condition. In the if condition we have gone with the intention concept. The same thing also will be considered for the for loop as well as for the while loop, as the Python is not having the flower braces. For the if condition, for the for loop and for the while loop, you're not having the flower braces. So now what we are going to do is, let us consider a statement, how to write the for loop. How to write the for loop, let us consider. So after going with this for loop, we'll be going with a while loop. So thereafter we'll be going with a list, set and tuple dictionaries. So these are the four different types of data types. So even we'll be going with the pandas, numpy and matplotlib. Based upon the time, we'll be moving into that. Right. So here I've considered the for loop. So what is the for loop is? For loop is used to repeat the process for the n number of times. I mean the iterations. It is used to go with the n number of iterations over here. Right. So first thing what we do is, we will be writing for, open the braces. In the braces, we'll be declaring the conditions. We'll be declaring the conditions over here. Right. So after that, we will be going in the flower braces. In the flower braces, you'll be writing our own logic. So let us write one small program regarding that, and I'll show you. Right. So in the stress file stuff, we are going to write it. Simply, I have considered for loop for I in range. I in range. I simply say it as a 10. So now give colon. So after the colon, so till here I have done with my for loop. So for the other things, what you used to do is, I mean for the C or Java, what we used to do is, uh, for some condition I is equal to 0, semicolon I plus plus, so on, some condition used to write. So thereafter we used to open the braces and close the braces. In this way we used to consider the for loop, right? But for the Python, there is no need to write the floor braces, or there is no need to write in this condition over here, right? So simply I have said for I in range of 10, I have said. So this loop would be repeated for the 10 times. So after that colon. So this condition has ended over here, right? So now moving into the next one. So now what I'm doing here is, I want to write some block of statements for this for loop. Then press enter. Give the indentation 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to give 8, you can even give 8. That is based upon your editor. If you're giving 8, that is based upon your editor. Right, so here I've considered print. So print, I'll say hi. So when I say print hi, so now I save this program and I execute it. So I'll come back to my terminal and I'll execute it. As soon as I've executed this, so you'd be able to get the hi for the 10 times. Python space your file name .py. So as soon as I've executed this, you can look over here. As soon as I execute the program, you can see it says hi, 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 hi. So the hi has been printed. So let us go with a small modification. So instead of printing hi, I'll simply print I. I simply print I over here. So when I print I, so what would be happen? As this, when I'm saying for I in range of 10, the value of I would be keep on increased automatically. The incremented value would be printed. So that is the reason I have considered print I over here. So save this program. So re-execute. I do execute this. As soon as I executed this, you can look over here. Python space your file name dot py. This loop has been repeated for the 10 times. So 0 till 9. So 10 values are there. The loop has been repeated for the 10 times. So this is how you go with the for loop, right? So here we do have one thing, like we do have the starting point, ending point, and steps, right? So same thing how we do consider in the other thing, where to start and where to end, right? So the same thing we have considered over here. So for that, what we need to do is, so I want to declare the loop will started from 5 or 3. So I'll simply put it as 3 comma 10. So what would be happen? The for loop would be started from the 3. The for loop would be started from the 3 and it would be ended the 9. So like let's look into that. So the loop would be repeated for this times. So clear the screen. So see here, till the 9 the for loop has been repeated. The for loop has been started with 3. The for loop has been started with 3 over here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 till 9 it has been printed. So this is what your concept. So coming into the next program, what we do is we do consider a difference. So let us consider I want to give a large number. So I want to start it from 1 and I want to print it till 100. I want to print till 100. So then in that case, I'd be giving 100. So this for loop would be repeated for the 100 times. This for loop would be repeated for the 100 times. So if you observe, the for loop has been repeated for the 100 times. But here a small logic I want to consider. What is the logic is, I don't want this each and every number to be printed. I want a difference of 5. I want 5 difference. So then in that case, I need to mention the steps. So if I have mentioned the steps, then I'll be getting my difference over here. So simply I've considered a difference of 5. So if I say the difference of 5, you'd be able to observe here. So I re-execute the program. As soon as I re-executed the program, you can see here. It says 1, 6, 11, 16, 21, 26 till 96. So what's happening? The loop has been started from the 1. So there is a difference of 5. So that is the reason I got 1, 6, 11 and so on. So that's fine. So let's go with some other thing. I'll put it as a 0 here. So I'll observe here. So now it says 0, 0, 5, 10, 15, so on till 100 with a difference of 5. The for loop has been printed. So this is how you go with your for loop. The starting step, starting point, ending point, and the difference. So in the same way, if you have considered the for loop with the what can say is, if you want to print the even numbers and odd numbers, then you can consider for loop without writing any formula. Without writing any formula, you can consider this particular thing. So now what I'm doing here is I consider 0, 1, 10, 10, and I'll put the difference as 2. I'll put the difference as 2 over here. So now see here. So I have considered 0 till 100 and the difference is 2 I have said. So I save this program and come to the terminal and execute it. As soon as I've executed this, you can see here. So what has happened? Till 100, whatever the values are there, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, so on, the complete even like what you can say, the complete even numbers are being printed. There is no logic which I have written over here. Simply I have said the starting point, ending point I have said, and I have declared the difference. Based upon this difference, I'm getting my even numbers completely. So in this case, if I want the odd numbers, so then what I need to do is, so let us consider 1 over here. So let us put, instead of 0, let us put 1. So the for loop would be repeated from the 1 and it will be given some values. So save this and execute it. As soon as I save this and execute, you can see here, I got the complete odd numbers. So this is what the thing when you go with your even numbers and odd numbers. So this is about your for loop. So coming into the next one, if you want to break this, so then you need to go with the for if condition and press something like break. So then that particular for loop would be breaked over here. So look over here, this thing we have done and this thing also we have done. So the break condition. So look over here. So here I've considered one thing called as number. Number is equal to 0. I've declared. Right. So the next one for number in for number in the range of 10 I have said. So this loop has been repeated for the 10 times. So now what would happen if number is equal to 5? Simply I said break. Then if the value is equal to 5, the loop would be stopped. The loop would not be repeated. The loop would not be repeated over here. Right. I save this and execute it back. So then you can see here the loop will not be repeated for the 10 times. As soon as the loop has been reached till the 5, the loop would be stopped. Right. So as soon as the loop has been reached to the 5, the loop has been stopped. The loop has been stopped over here. Right. Right. So coming into the next one, let's go with the program or loop we have done. So after the for loop, what we are going to consider is, let us start with the while loop. So in the while loop, what you are doing is, so here I've considered I is equal to 0 while I greater than or equal to 0. I have considered print the value of I is, I have said. So now the value of I would be printed. So coming into the next one, what I'm doing is I is equal to I plus 1. I have given a condition I is equal to I plus 1. So then the while loop would be repeated with incrementing the value. With increasing the value, the while loop would be keep on repeated. So now if you have reached I equal to 4, then the loop would be terminated. If you don't want that to be considered, so put this in the comments, then it will not be break. So let's execute the program. As soon as executed, see here the value of the variable I is 0 1 2 3 till the 10th one, the value is being printed. Why? Because here I've considered a symbol called as equal to. Here I've considered a symbol called as equal to over here. So that is the reason the loop is being repeated for the 11 times. It has started from the 0 and it has repeated till the 10, like till the 10th one it has been repeated. Like till the number is equal to 10, it has been repeated. So this is what about your while loop. Alright, so once again. So if I've removed this value, so look over here, let's consider I is equal to 0. I have said I is less than or is equal to 10. I is less than or equal to 10. So then I save this value and execute it. So as soon as like I'll put this into the comments, I put this into the comments and save it. So now when I execute this program, you can observe it. So what has happened? The complete statement is being keep on printed. The complete statement is being keep on printed in an infinite loop. The loop is being keep on repeated, it is being not stopped. If you have observed the value of the variable I is equal to 0 0, there is no condition for the increment, so that is the reason it is being keep on incremented. So we need to observe the code properly, where we are writing, at which condition we are writing. So what we are writing, we need to observe it. So based upon that only, then we can go with the loop execution. So right now we have considered this particular program, so the loop is being keep on repeated automatically over here. Right, so this is the topic. So if you want to break this for loop, what you need to do is press the Control C, or else press the pause break. Pause break key would be there in the system, with the function key and pause break key, or else the Control C. So if you're pressing this, the infinite loop would be terminated. The infinite loop would be terminated. The infinite loop would be terminated. So this is what the concept when you are going with the while loop. This is the concept when we are going with your while loop. So coming into the next topic, so what we are going to consider is, so here not only this while loop, we can go with some other while loop. So what would be happened is, one second. Yeah, so this is what about the while loop. So coming into the next program, what we do have is, so everyone would be aware of this thing, like everyone are being playing this program. What's the program? So you would be having your dice program, and you would be having your dice, right? So the dice is which is thing which I've considered as the rolling of your dice. So the people who play the Ludo game and so on. So for those people, for those concepts, we are going to consider this particular program over here. So here simply using the while loop, infinite while loop, I have created this program. So here I have imported, here I have said import random I have said. So the random module is being imported. So after importing this random module, so what I do is, so let's I'll execute this program and show you, then you'll be getting a clarity. So clear the screen. So Python space your file name. So what the file name, it's die.py. So I executed this program. It is asking, do you want to enter roll the die, yes or no? After this yes, so it says you got one. So I re-execute the program, it says so on. If I enter the value, it says so and so program, like so and so value you got, so and so value you got. So in this way I am getting my condition, in this way I am getting my for loop. So I don't want this to be happen, so I don't want that to be happen. So then what I'll be doing here is, I don't mind, I'll put this also in the comments and I'll show you. So right now you look over here, so you'll be getting a different program. So here the complete for loop will keep on repeated automatically. You would be getting 1 2 3 4 so on, like random values. When you roll a die, you'd be getting 1 6 8 11 12, you'd be getting a random values, right? So in this way you'd be getting the same these things over here. So now what I'm doing here is, I consider this program and I re-execute it. So as soon as I executed, sorry, I need to close this thing. Right, so look over here. So if you have observed this, you can see here. So now what's happening? You got 1, you got 2, you got 3, you got 4, you got 5. So in this way, you're getting your details. You're getting your details. Like the number is being keep on repeated automatically. So this is how you go with your infinite loop. So this is how you go with your infinite loop over here. So randomly the numbers are being printed always. So but for the previous program, what actually I have done is, I have imported a random module. So while true. So when I put this while true, what would be happen is, the loop would be the infinite loop, the loop would be the infinite loop. So thereafter here I've considered num is equal to random dot randint of so on. I've considered, right? So now we have considered print, you got number is equal to so on, I have said. So what are the number, random number which I've got in the number like in the variable called as num, that is being printed, right? So but for the previous program, what actually I've done is, I have said please remove this, put in the comments. So what will happen, this loop will keep on repeated automatically. It is an infinite loop, but here I'm placing a condition. If you got number is equal to 6, put it as if number is equal to 6 or number is equal to 4, continue, then the loop would be keep on repeated again. But if you got number is equal to 1, number is equal to 3 and 4, 3 and 5, so then simply a set break. So this is how we are going with your Ludo. So when we are in the Ludo, like when you do play the Ludo game or some other game, so you do have an option, like if you got a double chance, like you would be getting a double chance. When you're getting 6 and 4, you would be getting another option to roll the die. So in that case, again you got a 6, again roll the die. So in this way the program has been written. So if you're getting any other number rather than 6 and 4, so the loop would be terminated and you don't get the next chance. So this is what the program for that particular thing, right? So now what I do is save this program. So this is what about your while loop. So this is what about your while loop over here. All right. So now what we are going to consider is, I have considered a program. So let's close this. So this is what about your while loop. So in order to terminate this, press Control C. Press the Control C. The while loop would be terminated. So thereafter, this is what about your while loop. So coming into the next program, what we are going to consider is list, set, tuple, and dictionary. List, set, dictionary, and tuple we are going to consider. So what is a list? What is a dictionary? Let's have a glance over here. Right. So here I've considered. Right. So here I've considered list. So what is a list? What is a tuple? What is a dictionary? So on first day, on the day one, what we have discussed is variable is a container. Variable is a container which stores the values we have considered. Right. So now what we are going to consider is, here we do have different types of data types. So the 4 different types of data types are list, tuple, set, and dictionary. List, set, tuple, and dictionary. right? So what will the list do? What will the tuple do? What the sets does? And what does the dictionary will do? Right? These four things are simply containers. Simply these are all the containers. This stores the multiple values. When you go with your variable used to store a single value. But when you're coming to this data types would be stored like what can I say is this data types can store different data. So what kind of data is, if you want to store like what can say, if you want to store an integer or float or some other string, all the values at a time can be stored, all the values can be at a time stored into a variable. Right? How it can be done, let's look over here. Right? So here we have considered list, how to create a list, same as other these things. So what we consider is, when you're going with your other programming language, you would be having your arrays, you'd be having your arrays and so on. So in the same way, we are having the list, set, tuple, and dictionary, which holds the multiple details over here. Right? So look over here. So let us this consider the program called as list. So when you're going this program list, so here I have set a variable called as v. So v is my variable. So in this variable v, so now what actually I'm doing. So till another program you have done, v is equal to 5. So in this way we have stored an integer or 5.6 float we have stored. But coming to the topic now, what we are doing is we are storing the multiple values. So how we are storing the multiple values is, open the braces, close the braces, the rectangular braces. Right? So in this braces, what we need to do is we need to declare the multiple values. So what are the multiple values? If I want to declare a, b, c, or 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, if I want to declare any value, all the values I can declare it. Right? So now let us consider I want to declare 5, 5.3, and Mahesh I want to declare. So then 5 comma 5.3 comma uh, in single quotations or in double quotations, I'll put it as Mahesh or Hi. Some string I have placed. So in this way, I'm placing my details. So in this way, I'm placing my details into this variable. Now this variable would be acted as a list. Now this variable would be acted as a list over here. Right? So now what we have considered is this is a list. So I did this, and so look over here. Right now here I've considered v is equal to, I've declared a value 9, 1, 2, 3, Mahesh, Python 5.4, so on. I have declared all the values. So in order to print this list, simply write v. Then the complete list would be printed. So coming into the next one, what we have considered is type of. The type of function already we have gone through the thing in the yesterday's class itself. So print type of v. So what would be happen? What is the data type is there? That would be printed. So now whether it is a string or int, it will be considered. Right now it is a list. So when I go with type of v, it is to be said as uh, look over here. It says as a class is an the class is integer, it says. So like I have saved this program, let's execute and check it. So Python space your file name dot py. So as soon as I've executed this program, it says the complete list has been printed. After printing the list, it even says the class is list over here. The class is list. So coming into the next topic. So if you want to print the like when I say print v, the complete list is being printed. But in case if you want to print a specific value, either a Mahesh or Python or 5.4, some other value you want to print, then you need to go with the indexing. So when you have gone with this indexing, the specific value would be printed. So for going with that indexing, what we have considered is, here I've considered uh, v of 2. So look over here. Here I've considered v of 2. So what is this v of 2? So print v in the brackets I have declared it as a 2. So now what would be happen? It says 2 is the index. 2 is the index position, which value stored, that value would be printed. So when I set v of 2, so what would be happen? 0, 1 and 2. So in second position, what are the values here? Mahesh is there. Mahesh would be printed. When I go with 0 of v, print v of 0. So in zeroth position, what is the value is there? 9 is there. 9 would be printed. So in this way, it is to be considered. So coming into the next topic, we have considered v of minus 1. So when you go with the minus 1, it comes from the last of the year. last of the this thing, the list it will be considered. So when I go with this -1, this Mahesh, also let's put it as a brain version. Consider brain version. So now what would be happen? This value would be printed. So when I consider this particular way, that value would be printed, right? So when I go with -1, brain ocean would be printed. So when I go with -5, so what would be happen? -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So now Python would be printed. So this is what about your negative indexing. So coming into the next one, what we have done, print v of 2 is to 5. I'm giving the range over here. So from the second letter till this one, not fifth one. So when you go 2 is to 5, what would happen? Second one, third one, fourth one. So in these places, what are the values are there, that would be printed. That would be printed, right? So that is the reason Mahesh, Python and 5.4 would be printed. So when you go with this is to colon, so when you go with this is to colon, so what would happen? This is the starting point, this is the ending point. So as you have not declared any starting point, it considers the starting. What are the starting is there, that will be considered when you go with 5. So till fifth position, it will be printed. So top like the starting 5 values would be printed. Starting 5 values would be printed over here. So coming into the next one, I have declared as 4 is 2. What would be happen? It starts printing the list from the fourth value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So from this value till the last value, how many values are there in the list? Till the n number of values, that would be printed. So this is when you go with your negative indexing. So from -3 till -7, what are the values are there? That will be printed. So this is what about the list. So when I save this program and execute it, you will be getting a clarity. So Python space your file name .py. So as soon as I've executed this, you can see here, I got Mahesh 9, Brain Ocean, Python, so specific range values from 5 till so on, so from 4 till so on. So what are the values I've given? Those values are being printed over here. Those values are being printed over here, right? So now coming into the next one, what we are doing is, so this is what about your list. So coming into the next topic, what we are going to consider in the list also, in the list also we do have a thing called as clear a list, delete a list and update a list. So these options are there. So for that what we'll be doing is we'll be going with this thing. So here I've considered append method. So when I've gone with this append method, so here I've considered v of 3, v of so on. So what are all those things? So if you have observed this, so delete all this program. So I put it over here. So simply v of 3. So now what would be happen in the third position? What are the value is it? That would be overridden. So when I say v of 3 is equal to Python, so then the complete this thing would be removed. So the Python would be overridden with a thing called as I love Python. So this is how you override your values. So this is how you override your values. So coming into the next one, v of 6. So what actually I'm doing in the sixth position, what are the values there? That would be overridden with Bala Maheshwar. So right now it is Mahesh, it would be overridden with Bala Maheshwar. So when I go with this append, v dot append is there. So when I'm going with this v dot append, what would be happened is, the value Dawn would be added at the last. So what are the value you want to give, you can give here. If I simply declare it as a 5 or 4 or whatever it may be, so what are the value you are giving this append, that would be added at the last of the list. So this is how you consider your list. So if you want to delete the list, then go with, so I save this program and execute it. Sorry. So as soon as I execute this program, you can see here the last 5 has been added. So in this way you have considered. So in this way you have considered your append method, override method. So here you can see here, first of all I do have a I have Python. The Python has been overridden with I love Python. So here I have Mahesh. So thereafter it has been overridden with I love like Balameshwar has been overridden. So this is what the concept when you go with your overriding. So this is what about your list. If you want to make the list complete list empty, so then you do have an option called as clear the list. So here if you want to insert, you do have insert method v dot insert, which inserts the value at a specific position. V dot insert will insert the value at the specific position. So thereafter I have considered v dot remove. So what would be happen from that particular list in the starting, what are the values there? V dot remove Mahesh absent. So the Mahesh would be removed from the Mahesh would be removed from the complete list over here. So this is how I go with the insert method and remove method. So when I consider this clear method, when I consider the clear method, v dot clear, what would be happen? The complete list would be cleared and it would be printed as an empty list. So it would be printed as an empty list over here. So now look over here. I'm having complete values. So v dot clear, v dot print I have set. So del, let's declare this. So look over here. Right now when I do this program, I got an empty value. Why? Because all the values in the list have been cleared and the empty list has been printed over here. And the empty list has been printed over here. Right? So this is what the program. So now let's clean the screen and let's go to the next topic. Alright, so if you want to go with the delete. So when I say the delete, when I say delete, so what is happening? When I say delete is the complete list would be deleted. The complete list would be deleted, and when I'm trying to print it, so when I'm saying print, so what would be happen? The complete values. When I say delete space v, the complete list would be deleted. When I'm trying to print a list, here I'd be getting an error. Here I'd be getting an error called as name error. So what's the name error? So already v has been deleted. There is nothing called as v. You're trying to print that. So that is the reason you got an error, right? So this is what the format. So how do you delete a list? So these are what the operations. So these are what the list of operations which you're performing. So accessing the item, negative indexing, range, changing the item value, I mean the overriding one, right? So the length of the list, append method, insert method, remove, clear, delete, copy, right? So these are all the things which you have in the list over here, right? So now coming into the next topic, we do look into the thing called as tuples, right? So here first of all we need to look into things called as list tuple. I'll give you clarity about the list, tuple, set, and dictionary. These four are the different types of data types which stores the multiple details. So look over here. List is a collection of data, tuple is a collection of data, set is a collection of data. But here we do have a small difference over here. What is the small difference is, list is collection of a data which is ordered, which is changeable, right? So which allows to duplicate values, whereas tuple is a collection of a data which is ordered, which is unchangeable. I mean, what would be happen? What are the options which are performed on that list? Same thing can be performed on the tuple, but what would be happen? Modifying the things, overriding the things can't be done, deleting the values can't be done, adding the values can't be done. Tuple is an immutable. You can't change the values in the tuple. You can't change the values. You can't delete it. You can't like what can say is you can't modify the value from the tuple. So in this way you can go. It even allows to duplicate members. So coming into the next one, set is collection of a data which is which is unordered and unindexed. Which is unordered, unindexed, no duplicate members. So what would be happen? List and tuple are same things. The same operations can be performed, but insert, override, append, all these things can't be performed on the tuple. So let's move on to the topic called as sets. So when we are going with the sets, what would be happen? So I'll show you about the tuple also. So say same way you can consider the tuple would be created in this brackets. Let us consider a variable called as b. B is equal to, open this round brackets. In the round brackets, you need to declare the value. You can say it as 5 comma 9 comma excuse me, I'm sorry for that. 5 comma let's put it as 85 comma 9.6 comma Python. So I can put in this particular way. So this is how you people create a tuple. So printing also, same thing, print b. So print b of 1, print b of 1. So now what you can do is print b of 1 you can consider, right? So in this way, the specific position, what are the values there? In the first position 85 is there, 85 would be printed. Only this printings can be considered, but changing of the value, overriding of the value, adding a new value to the tuple can't be done. Right? So coming into the sets, so same way what would happen? Set is also collection of a data which is unordered and unindexed. So let's look into this particular thing over here. So here I've considered a variable called as C. So in C, I want to create a set over here. So now what actually I do, I give the flower braces. So for creating the set, you need to go with the flower braces. Sir, in the previous thing you have said Python is not having the flower braces. So remember one thing, what I said is flower braces is not there in Python only for the if condition and for the for loop and while loop. Flower braces are there, according to Python, flower braces are there, but you don't use them for the if condition. You don't use them for the if condition, for condition and while condition. You won't use for those things, right? So while creating a sets, while using the format method, we would be using this braces over here. Right now, in order to create your set and dictionary, you would be using this flower braces. What are the things which are declaring in the flower braces? What are the things which are declaring a flower braces are considered as a set or dictionary based upon the values which you have given, based upon the syntax which you have given, that can be considered. So right now I declare the values called as are 5 comma 9 comma 5.3 comma, so bov comma, let us consider some other value u. So next one fdp. So let us consider this particular way. So these are what my values. So I close this. So this is how I have created. So this is how I have created my set over here. So after this, so now what actually I am doing is I have considered this thing. So now let's print it. Print C. So observe here. So please observe the order. So here I've given some like 5, 5, 9, 5.3 I've given. I save this program and I execute it. So when I'm executing this, you can see here. So I have said like I've given a program. In the program I've given 5, 9, 5.3 BOV, U and FDP I've given. But what is the order I'm getting over here? I'm getting a different order. So when I re-execute the program, you can see here. Again I'm getting a different order. So when I re-execute the program, I'm getting a different order. So what would be happen is, as we have declared in the starting itself. So what we have considered, set is unindexed, unordered, unindexed and unordered. So that is the reason you're not getting in an order. So when you run the program, you're getting in a random way. You're getting in a random way. So what is unindexed and what is unordered? So unordered means, so what are the order you are declaring, that order will not be printed. A random order can be printed while you're running your program. So this is for the set. So what is unindexed? So sir, you said as unindexed. So what is the unindexed means? As it is not in an order, you can't specify how to print a U, how to print BOV, you can't consider. So if it is in an order, then you can give an index like in the third position Mahesh is there. Print third position value like A of 3, A of 1, so on you can consider, right? So now what I'm doing here is I want to print specific value, that can't be possible. So that is the reason I have said as set are unindexed. So set are unindexed I have said. So what is about the other point called as, so look over here, I'll be putting this fdp for the 3 times. I'll be putting this fdp for the 3 times. So for the n number of times I've considered. So now what would be happen when I execute this program? You can see here throughout the set FDP is being printed only one time. So when I re-execute the program, n number of times it may be. It is only printing a value for the one time. So it means the set will not allow the duplicate values. If you are declaring 10 times or 20 times, while you're printing it in the output, only once it will be printed. But you can't say it will be printed in this particular order. It can print it can be printed in any order. Right? So this is what the thing. So coming into the next one, so what is unindexed? So in the unindexed, what will happen is you can't specify the indexing like print C of, print C of 1, print C of 2, print C of -5, print C of -2 is to 3. So that indexing can't be performed because set is unindexed and unordered. So that is the reason you can't perform all those things. So the rest all things, append method, insert method, remove method, you can perform, right? So append method can be performed, right? So now in this way we are going with adding the values, deleting the values. So I'll show you a program over here for the sets. right? So let us consider this set over here. Right now, BMW is my set, which is holding the multiple values over here. So when I say print BMW, the complete set would be printed in a random order. So if I want to print each and everything in a new line, so then I have considered the for loop for X in BMW. For X in BMW, I have said. So then what would be happen? First of all, 5.4 would be printed. In the next line, 0 would be like lol would be printed. In the next line, bala would be printed. So I can't say the order, but it would be printed in a new line. So when you're going with this for loop, the set will be printed each and every time in a new line. So if it is a set or tuple or dictionary, whatever it may be, it will be printed each and everything in a new line when you're using the for loop. If you're not using the for loop, it will be printed in a single line. It will be printed in a single line over here, right? So that is what the topic when you go with the sets over here, right? So coming to the next one, as I have said in the previous thing, so right now this set is my variable which is storing the values. If you want to update the values, use the update method. If you want to remove, go with the remove method. If you want to delete the values randomly, then use the pop method. Actually the pop method is used to remove the value which is at the last. In the same way how we are going with append method, when you have gone with your append method, what's actually happening is when you're gone with your append method, the value is added at the last. So in the same way, when you go with the pop method, the value would be removed from the last. What are the last value is it that would be removed when you have gone with your pop method, right? So now coming into the next topic, what we have considered is I have considered pop over here. So then how could you delete last value in the set? So I'm saying here is as set is not having as a set is not having any value like starting value and ending value. So when you use this pop method, what would be happen is a value would be removed randomly. The value would be removed randomly from the set over here. So when you go with this clear method, what would be happen is the complete set is removed. The complete values in the set are being removed from the set over here, right? So this is how we are making a set empty, right? So coming into the next topic, so what here actually I have considered is I have considered clear method is done. So coming to the next one, already you people know. So sets. So everyone are familiar with this set. So when you go with your sets, what would be happen is according to the 10th standard education, 10th or 9th standard based upon CBSE and SSC, we would be having a sets. So in the sets, what are the operations which you're performing over there? So what are the operations which you're performing over there? All those operations can be performed here. All those operations can be performed over here, right? So let's even look into that. So in that case, what would be happen is the Venn diagram, like if you consider a plus this thing, what can I say you a b so on, what are the values which you have considered? I'll show you two things like update, union, intersection, difference. All those things can be considered when you have considered a Venn diagram. So in the Venn diagram we have gone, let us consider two circles are there. So when the two circles are meeting at one particular point, that particular point is to be considered as an intersection. So combining two circles and printing the values is called as union. So in this way, what are the things are there in the sets in the mathematics, in the 10th standard mathematics or 6th standard mathematics, like based upon sets in which they are having according to the education system, what we are performing in the mathematics, all those operations can be performed over here. So that is the reason I have considered this example. So set 1, set 2, circle 1, circle 2 here I have considered. So in this now what actually I am doing is here I have considered set 1, set 2 union. So what would be happen, the complete details will be printed. So in a print set 3, it says ABC 1 2 3. Sir, why are you saying ABC 1 2 3? ABC 1 2 3 not be printed. Random values would be printed. Combined together would together combined values would be printed over here. Together the combined values would be printed. Right. So when I go with this update, so update means already you people know. For this particular set 1 dot update set 2. For the set 1, the set 2 values would be added and set 1 would be printed. Right now XYZ 145 2369. So let's execute this program and check it. So I'll show you for your clarity. So here I've considered the union method. So when I'm going with this union method, look over here. So I'm executing the program. As soon as I executed this program, look over here. So it says one B 2 3 AC. So when I re-execute the program, random positions 1 2 1 2 C B A and 3, it is being printed. So now what's happening for this set? For this set has been added and it is being printed in a random position. So in this way we can consider. So in this way we can go with your update. Sorry, union. So coming to the next one, here I've considered the update. So when I've gone to this update, what would be happen? Same union update would be working in the same position. Union and update would be working in the same position over here. Right, set 1 xyz and so on. Set 2 is equal to so on values. Set 1 dot update of set 2 have set. For this particular set, this values would be added and it would be printed. So it can be printed in a random way. So when I execute the program, you can see here. I've not saved it. I need to save it. So let's go here. So you can see here 369 SDC XYZ 145 24343. So some random value. In this way, it is being printed. So when you re-execute the program, it will be printed in different order. So this is what about your sets. So coming into the next topic in the sets, you have union, update, intersection, difference. So already we know about it. Difference is the value, removing the values. So look over here. Here I've considered this particular thing. So difference I have considered. So when I go with this difference, so y dot difference of x. So now what would be happen in this variable when I execute this program? So here I have two things. I'm having Bala, Mahesh, Word. Here I'm having Google, Microsoft, and Bala. So two sets are having one unique thing. So what is that unique thing? Sorry, the common thing is Bala. So when I go with this difference, so what would be happen? What are the common values here? That would be removed and the rest all values would be printed. So when I execute this program, you can see here it prints Google and Microsoft. Why? Because I have set y dot difference of x. So what would be happen in the set y? What are the values are there in the x? Please remove that and print the unique values from y. So that is the reason in the y there are only two unique values. One is Google and the other one is Microsoft. Only that has been printed. So if you are considering in this particular way, so here I've considered this as z. Z is equal to difference of x dot difference of y offset. So I'm printing the z. So now what would be happen? Now Bala would be removed from this x and Mahesh and Var would be printed. So in this way I have considered. So this is what about your topic. So this is when you go with your difference. So in the same way when you go with your intersection. So intersection also you know about it. So intersection, when you go with the intersection, the common values. So what would be happen when you go with your intersection? The common values would be printed. So I execute the program. So see here, it says Bala and Var. Why Bala and Var? Because in the two sets, Bala and Var are there. So that is the reason what are the common values are there that are being printed. So this is what about your intersection. So rest all other things are there. So what are the other things for the sets are? You do have len, x in, not x in, is subset, superset, union, intersection, difference, symmetric difference, update. All these others are there. This is only when you're focusing specially on sets. These are not required for the AI, but for the glance of your purpose, these are being declared over here. This material would be showed shared. So then you people feel like you require to practice. Like when you want to have, when you have a time you want to practice, then you can use this as a reference and you can practice it. Right. So these are not required for the AI. So that is the reason we are not moving into this topic. So let's come back to the topic called as dictionaries. So when you go with this dictionaries, what would be happen is dictionaries are same as sets, but in the dictionaries, what would be happen is you would be having a key and value. Key and value would be there, same as your JSON. So I hope everyone are familiar with the JSON. So in the JSON, how we'd be storing the values based upon key and value. So in the same way here we are storing the dictionaries. So what would be happen? Dictionary is a collection of data which is unordered, changeable, and indexed. No duplicate members are there. So this is what the topic. So let's go with the dictionary. How to create a dictionary? Let's have a glance. Sorry. So right now I have considered a variable called as A. In the variable A, what I am doing is I have stored a value in the variable A. sorry, in the variable a, I'm storing the multiple values. So what are the multiple values? If you have observed this multiple values, you can look over here. So here I'm having company, and the next one I'm having Brainovision. So I'm having employee, I'm having Bala Maheshwar. Here I'm having as 1964. All right. So coming into the next one, I'm having a name called as Brainovision. Details Bala Maheshwar. Age 1964. So what are all these things? So here what would be happened is, here you would be having this is called as a key, this is called as a value. So this is called as a key, this is called as a value. So when you're going to key as keys and values, what would be happen is you would be able to get this details from this dictionary. So you'll be able to get this dictionary, able to get the values from that particular dictionary. So coming into the topic, so in order to create a dictionary, declare your variable name, open the flower braces, close the flower braces. So in between this, declare your values. So this is what the key, this is what the value. So when I print A, so now what would be happen is the complete dictionary would be printed. The complete dictionary would be printed. If you have observed, you can look over here. Company, Brainovision. Employee, Balamaheshwar. Year 1964. Name is equal to Brainovision. Details is equal to Balamaheshwar. Age is equal to 1964. So what are the details I have given? All those things along with the keys that are being printed over here. So now what I'm doing here is, right now I want to print a specific value. So in that case, what actually I'm doing is, so look over here, here I've considered A of employee. Same as your indexing concept. Here we don't go with the indexing. So now what we are doing here is, we consider the key name. So here I've said x is equal to a dot employee of print x. So now what would be happen? So now I'm calling this particular key. So when I call this particular key, what would be happen? What are the value is there in this particular thing that would be printed? That would be printed over here. So now when I say print x, the x would be printed over here. So now in the x, what are the values there? Bala Maheshwar is there. So then that would be printed. So see here. So when I execute the program, it says Bala Maheshwar over here, right? So in the same way, for this you do have another process. For this you do have another process. So here I've considered y is equal to a dot get of employee. So when I'm saying a dot get employee, what would be happen in the employee? What are the values here that would be printed? So that is the reason for the second time also you got it as Bala Maheshwar, right? So this is how you access the values using the keys. So coming to the next program. So if you want to override the value, if you want to override the value, so then what would be happen is, here for timing I've considered a variable called as this dict. In this dict I'm storing a dictionary called as company Brainovision, employee Balamaheshwar, and here is equal to, let us put it as like, here it is 1964 is there. So now I don't want that value, I want to override that. So this value should be overridden. So then that case I have considered 2000 this dict of year. So then that key value, what are the keys there? For that you are updating the value. So now it would be updated to the 2020. So now what would happen? 2020 have declared, 2020 would be updated. Right? So save this program and execute it. So now look over here. Company Brainovision, employee Balameshwar, year 2020. After updating, I'm printing it. So the updated value has been printed over here. The updated value has been printed over here. Right? So this is what about the dictionary. So if you want to go with the dictionary for the other thing, what we have considering. So if you want to print that in a new line each and every time, so then you have considered for x in this so let me put this in the comments. So now what actually I have considered is, I have considered x in this dict. So now in this dictionary, what actually I'm doing is, I have considered c is equal to this dict of x. So now what happened? The x value would be keep on incremented. So now the x value would be based on the key. The x value would be based on the key. So now what would be happened is, it would be considered as c of this dict. So now c of this dict. So now what would happen? Instead of x, the key would be replaced. The key would be replaced and the value would be printed. So if you are looking into this program, see over here. So here I have considered for x in this dictionary. So let's execute this program and show you. So as soon as I execute this program, you can see here So it says Brainovision, Bala Maheshwar, and uh, 2020 it is being printed. Why it is being printed? For X in this dictionary. So now what would be happen? What are the keys are there? Thus that key values would be assigned to the X over here. So now C is equal to this dict of X. So now what the value is there? First the loop has been started. So now you got the company. So C is equal to this dict of company. So now in this dict of company, what the value is there? Brainovision vision is there. So then Brainovision vision would be printed. Then the Brainovision vision would be printed. So now coming into the next one, now what actually I'm doing is I have considered as a for loop. As long as the values are there in this dictionary, the loop would be keep on repeated. So that is the reason I got all the values. All the values I got, I did not got the keys. So if I want the keys to be printed, then simply I'll say print x, x comma c. So I'll say x comma c over here. So save this. So now observe here. So when you re-execute the program, you can look over here. It says company Brainovision, employee Bala Maheshwar, year is 2020. So in this way, the things are being printed. The things are being printed in this particular way. So this is how we are going with your dictionary, right? So this is how we are going with your dictionary. So in the dictionary also you do have a various operations. So what are the various operations is? Let's have a glance. All right. So pop method is there. Pop method is used to remove the value, right? So here I've declared some specific value. I'm not simply declaring the pop. So here I've declared pop of employee. So then this key and this value would be completely removed from the dictionary, right? So when I go with this pop item, so when I go with this pop item according to the dictionary, the last value, what are the thing, what are the last values there in the dictionary, that would be removed, right? So that is the reason. Now when I execute this program, I'd be getting the company as well as the employee that would be printed. So this is about your pop item, right? So coming into the next one, you do have the for loop. If employee is in this dictionary, so in is a membership operator. In is the membership operator. If you find employee key, if you find the employee key in this dictionary, then this block of code would be executed. If not, it will not be executed. If not, it will not be executed. So here I want to give some other example. So here I've considered uh, so that is what about your thing. So let's go with some example for the membership operator. Here I've considered string str, not str. I'll put a variable called as s. S is equal to, I'm putting it as Mahesh in Brainovision. I've considered this particular thing. So now what I want to do, I want to check whether the in this variable x, whether the in this variable x Mahesh is there or not. I want to check. So then in that case, so what I'd be doing here is, if Mahesh in yes, so then what would be happen? Simply print. I'll say print yes. So and the word is there in the variable yes. So now what would be happen? That would be considered. So now I have not written the complete program over here. Just for explanation purpose I've said. So now what will be happen in the variable yes? If Mahesh is found, then the if block would be executed. If the Mahesh is not there, then the if block will not be executed. So if I've given it as a bala over here, so now what would be happen? If I've given it as a bala, then what? Sorry. So then what would be happened is it says the condition is not satisfied. So then if statement will not be executed because Bala is not there in the variable called as X. Then that will not be executed. So this is what about your membership operator. So this is what about your membership operator. So these are what about your basics of the Python which you require in the AI, which you require in the AI, right? So coming into the next topic, so let's start about the data pre-processing. So we do have a thing called as data pre-processing. So what is the data pre-processing? What is the data visualization is? Let's have a glance. So these are what about your basic things of your these are what about your basic things of your Python. So now let's go into a topic called as AI. So when you go with this AI, you do have the basics of the AI. So what are the things which you require for the AI are, you need to learn the pandas module, you need to learn the matplotlib module, you need to learn the numpy module. So these are the basic things for the machine learning or deep learning or AI. So whatever it may be, these three things to be learned for the all the things. So let us start with the pandas. So what this pandas will do, pandas module is simply to get your data set. So when we go with the machine learning, so what would happen? We'll be working on the large data sets. So when we go with the machine learning, we'll be working on the large data sets over here. So now what would be happen right now, according to our knowledge? So first one, we have considered variable which is storing a single value. So coming into the list, we have considered the list, set, tuple and dictionary. So that is also variable which is storing the multiple values such as integer and so on. Some different kinds of values it is being stored. So if I want to store 1,000 values or 2,000 values or 10,000 values in a variable, is that possible? No, that is not possible. So then in that case, what we need to consider? We need to consider some other thing which would help us, right? So that is the reason Python people have introduced a module called as pandas. So using this pandas module, we would be able to work with the large data sets and our work would be easier. Our work would be easier, right? So now let's move into that particular thing. So right, I close all these things. So now in order to work with this, what you need to do is you need to install a thing called as Jupyter Notebook. So using the terminal, you'd be not able to run this. So then in that case, what we need to do is, then what do we require is, we need to install a Jupyter Notebook. So let's install the Jupyter Notebook. Let's install the Jupyter Notebook and start our programming. So So go with the thing called as Anaconda downloads. So when I go with this Anaconda download, so for the Windows, like maximum people would be for the Windows, and for the people who are using Linux and so on, there would be simple command, simply vget so on. So vget, you'd be giving the URL, the complete Anaconda would be downloaded from the URL, and it will be downloaded and installed it for the people who are using the Linux. But for the people who are using the Windows, please go through this URL. Please go through this URL. This URL will be given you in the comments or chat some in some of at the last. So please go through this URL. So if you're going in this URL, click on this download. Anaconda would be downloaded. Your Anaconda would be downloaded. After downloading this Anaconda, so what we are going to consider is, so here is a step by step process to install your Anaconda. Step by step process to install your Anaconda. Please do follow these instructions to install your Anaconda. Anaconda is a tool where we are working with your machine learning projects or AI projects or some other thing. So in this Anaconda, what we do have is, we do have a different things like Jupyter Notebook, Spider, Orange, and so on. We are having. So for the time being, let us consider the Jupyter Notebook in this. So in order to on this particular thing, what you need to do is, so let us consider you people have installed this Anaconda. After installing this Anaconda, what you need to do is, uh, go to your Windows. So click on your Windows icon. As soon as you have click on your icon, so now what would be happened is, you would be able to get this Anaconda. So please click on Anaconda and open your Anaconda. So right now I'm going with my Anaconda. So right, so for the people who are using the Windows, like they can have some other URL for installing. So for them, the instructions will be given. So right now for me, I do have this command Anaconda-navigator. So my Anaconda navigator has been on. So my Anaconda navigator has been on over here. So now what would be happen? My Anaconda would be open. So when Anaconda is open, then you'll be able to see an option called as Jupyter Notebook, PyCharm, and so on. Oh, sorry, not the PyCharm. Orange and Spider would be displayed. So when your Anaconda is being loaded, so this icon would be displayed for you people. So it takes a little bit of time. It is a kind of a server. It is a kind of a server where your Anaconda is being keep on working, right? So now like my Anaconda has been on over here right now, right? So now you can observe here, Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook, Orange, Spider, and so on are there, right? So now what I'm doing here is, I click on launch. Why I'm clicking on launch? Because already I have installed this Jupyter Notebook. So here you can observe. So here I'm having an Art Studio. So what you need to do is, here I'm getting an option called as install. I'm getting an option called as install. So for this, for the first time, you'd be getting an option called as install. So please click on install for the Jupyter Notebook. Your Jupyter Notebook would be installed. So please wait as your Jupyter Notebook has been installed. As soon as your Jupyter Notebook has been installed, So then you'd be getting an option called as launch. So then you'd be getting an option called as launch. So click on launch, then your Jupyter notebook would be launched, right? So this is what for the first time. For the first time, when you install the Anaconda prompt, come and click on the Jupyter notebook, install and click on launch, then your Jupyter notebook would be open. So this is what your process for opening your Jupyter notebook, right? So this is what one of the process. So for the first time you need to install only in this way, you don't have any other alternate. So from the next time, from the second time or third time, whatever the thing, when you are opening it, no need to come to this Anaconda prompt. So simply go to your terminal, the command prompt. Simply go to your command prompt. In the command prompt, what you're doing is, in the command prompt, what you're considering is, uh, like write a command called as Jupyter notebook. For the Windows people, write a command called as Jupyter space notebook. Then your Jupyter notebook would be open, right? So, but the people who are using your Linux, so based upon your user environment, whether you are using as a non-root account or with a root account, based upon that, you need to write a command for the people who are going with the Linux, right? So as of now, my system is Linux. I am with a root account. So that is the reason I have considered Jupyter space notebook hyphen allow root I have set. Allow root I have set. So then my Jupyter notebook would be open, right? But for the people who are using Windows, only note down a command called as Jupyter space notebook. Then your Jupyter notebook would be open. Right now, I've executed this command. At the last, I got a URL. So please copy this URL. Come back to your browser. And paste it. So I have pasted it. So now my URL, my Jupyter notebook has been open. After opening my Jupyter notebook, so if everyone is familiar with this Jupyter notebook, that's fine. But some people may be there, like they would be not able to work with this Jupyter notebook. Then in that case, here we do have instructions for that. So the last, I'll be sharing this PPT, right? So here you do have an option called as Jupyter notebook. So when you click on here, so in this you do have an option, your Jupyter notebook would be open. So from the default directory which you have clicked, so from that directly your Jupyter notebook would be open. For the Windows people, it would be C users folder. So from the C users folder, it would be open. But for the people for the Linux, based upon the directory which you have opened, based upon the terminal which you have opened, in that directory your Jupyter notebook would be open. Right now here I'm having my root account. I have some folder called as root. So in this, my Jupyter notebook has been opened over here. So now what I'm doing here is, I simply move to a location. So wherever I have declared my files, in that particular location I'll be moving. So here, once again. Right, so I have copied this URL. So come back to my browser and I paste that URL over here. So the directory would be displayed. So this is what my directory. So in this directory, I am having a folder called as documents. So in the document folder, I do have a folder called as day one, right? So what are the folder you are creating? That's up to you. So right now we are in the day one. What I want to do is, I went to a folder called as day one. So here I want to create a Python file, or if I want to create a new folder, that's up to us, like based upon your requirement. So here you do have an option called as new. Click on folder. A new folder would be created. So for the time being, right now my new folder has been created. It is untitled folder. So click over here, click on rename. So here I simply write it as 00 FDP. So why do I write 00? Because if I say FDP, it will be coming at the last or some other location. So for easy identification, I have placed it as a 00 FDP. So now what would be happen in the starting? I'd be getting it. So look over here. In the starting, I got my folder called as 000 FDP. So this is what my folder. So in this folder, I go to this particular thing. So right now, this is what my directory where I am working. This is what my directory where I am working. So now what I'd be doing here is I click on new, click on Python 3, click on Python 3. So now what would be happen? A new file would be opened from my server, right? You can see here. So if I want to save it, so here you're having a file name. So write some code. So simply I say print. I say print welcome to all. So I've said this. So I have given as a shift and enter. When I press shift and enter, my program would be executed. When I say shift and enter, my program would be executed. So in the same line, when I press enter, I can write a next line of code. When I press the enter, I can write the next line of code. When I press shift and enter, the code would be executed and I'd be getting a new cell over here. Right? So this is called as a cell. If you want to save it, so click on save. Here you would have an untitled. So what is the file name you want to give? You can declare your file name. So I declare the file name as sample. So I don't need to give any extension. I simply declare it as a sample. So now sample has been created. So when I move to the directory, you can see here, I would be having a thing called as sample.ipynb. Sample.ipynb. What are the file which you are running in your Jupyter notebook? What are the file which you are running in your Jupyter notebook? That would be saved in the format of .ipynb. .ipynb format, it would be saved. Right? So that's fine. So now coming into the next one, now what actually I'm doing is uh, let's work with a module called as pandas. So this is what about your tool. So this is what about your tool. So coming into the pandas module, so let's start the pandas module. So what is this pandas module will do? The pandas module will simply it is used to hold your data set. So to hold your data set, using your data set, we are going to do the miracles. So what are the things which you're performing on your Excel? Let us consider the data set. What is the data set is? Simply nothing, it would be there. So let us consider the student marks. So what we do is we do maintain a Excel sheet for the student marks. So in the Excel sheet, what we do at the left side, we'd be declaring the student names. In the top side, first column, first row, we'd be declaring the subject names. Telugu, Hindi, English, science, math, like what are the subjects are there? All subject names we'd be giving. In the left side, in the first column, we'd be declaring the student names. So that data set, how to manage that data set using the pandas. So how to perform the data pre-processing. Data pre-processing is nothing but cleaning your data, cleaning the data and filtering the data. So now what we are going to do is in that Excel, we do have a missing details. How to find the missing details, how to work with the missing details, how to delete them, how to replace them. All these things can be considered using the pandas module. So here I want to show you this module. So this is what about your document. So when you have gone with this document, you can look over here. So pandas module would be there. It will be imported using the shortcut called as PDs. We'll write that program for that. So for the timing, please have a glance regarding this all this module, all these methods. So here you do have leave about these three things. I'll say about it. So here we do have df.head. So when you're going with the head method, top 5 rows. When you're going with this head method, top 5 rows would be displayed. So when you go with the tail method, last 5 values would be displayed. Df.tail, last 5 values would be displayed. But so what is this n? So when you go with this df.head of 10, df.head of 10, so then in that case, what would be happen is top 10 values would be displayed. So in the n, what are the value, what are the number you are giving? The n number of rows would be displayed. The n number of rows would be displayed. So when you go with this df.tail of n, so what is happening when you declare a value called as tail of 20? So what would happen? From the last 20 values would be displayed. From the last 20 values would be displayed. So when you're going with the shape, so what would be happen? Number of rows and columns. So in the Excel, how many rows and how many columns are there? That would be displayed. So when you go with this df.info, what would be happen? The complete data set, in which column what kind of data is there, whether in the first column string is there or integer is there or float is there, whatever it may be. Do you have any kind of object? All the details would be displayed when you go with this info. So when you go with this describe, so what would be happen? The complete details, like what is the minimum value, what is the maximum value, what is the minimum maximum count, how many numbers are there. So thereafter, what is 25% from the particular row? If you are having 100 rows, so what is the 25th percent value what is the 50% value, what is the 100% value, the quantile would be displayed. So this is when you go with your describe method. So coming into the next one, we do have a thing called as s dot value of count drop now. So view the unique values. So what would be happen in the data set? So let us consider the column. I'm having 1 1 2 3 4 4 4 5 5. I'm having all the values. Double values also repeated. So I want to get only unique values. Then in that case, we'd be going with this particular thing. Then we'd be going with this particular method over here. Right? So when I go with this df dot apply, it is simply to apply the function for the particular data set. Right? So coming into this df dot colon. So let's execute this programs and check. Instead of saying all these methods, then like what would be happened is you people would be getting a clarity when I execute the program. Don't worry about this material. This material would be shared. Right? Don't worry about it. So I hope everyone are like able to continue for other 20 minutes. By 7:30, we'll be looking into this module. So please, everyone, I hope everyone are able to continue. Should I continue with this? Are everyone okay with this? Yeah, it's okay. Like till 7:30, we'll be winding it up. Don't worry about it. Right. So now, what shall we do is let us consider the program and execute it. So now, so look over here. Right now, I'm opening the pandas module. Pandas, not this. So here in the document. So look over here. Here I have considered a module called as pandas. So look over here. Till now, what actually I've done is import pandas means pandas module would be imported. Right now, I'm importing with a shortcut. So wherever I'm writing this pandas module, I don't want to complete call pandas.read CSV, read so on, pandas.head. I don't want to call all the long values. So that is the reason I'm importing using it as a shortcut called as alias. I already everyone are familiar with this. So import pandas as PD I have said. So now this pandas module would be imported with a shortcut called as PD. So now wherever I want to use a pandas module, I'd be using this PD. So now I've said import pandas.pd. Pandas module has been imported. Right, so now print Mahesh. This is a print statement simply, nothing to do with it. So coming to the next topic. So look over here. So what actually I'm doing here, I have considered a variable called as df. Df is my variable which is holding this complete data set. So I've said in the starting, when you go with a variable, it can hold a single value, it can hold a multiple values. Right now, it is holding the large data set. Df is my variable which is holding the data set. So now what I've said, pd dot from the pandas module read csv method I am using sales.csv. So what's actually happening in my directory? So look over here. I do have a file. I'll show you that file. So in the documents, so in the day one, here I'm having a file called as panda.ipynb. Right. So this is what my file. So this is what my CSV. So here I am having my data set. So these are the rows. So here I'm having a three columns. So in the first column, I am having my index. So in the second column, I'm having X column, salt column, and spam column. These are three columns which are having the different kinds of data. So simply it is a sales report, simply to be considered as a sales report over here. So now in this thing, I'm having months. So according to the calendar, we do have only 12 months. But according to me, according to this example, I have created the 22 months with some other random names. I have created the 22 months over here, right? So here I'm giving this value in the January, in the X. In the January, 47X has been sold. So in the May, 132X has been sold. So in the ASPER, so 77X has been sold. So in this way, my data set is there. So in this way, I do have my data set. So here you can observe. So in the 11th row, in this particular column, this data has been missed. I'm not getting. So in the 11th row, the salt column I'm not having any data, so data has been missed. So I can modify it directly. If I want, I'll put it as 74. So as a data set is simple, as the data set is having only limited values, you can find it out and you can replace it here. But if you are having a large data set, there are 100 columns and 10,000 rows, then finding the null values and replacing the null values is not damn easy. It is a damn hard. So then in that case, we are going with the pandas module. This pandas module will be able to check how many replaced, like how many duplicate values are there, how many unique values are there, wherever you are having the empty values, how to replace these empty values. All these things can be considered. All these things can be considered using the pandas module. Let's come and execute it. So right now, this is what my data set. Right now, this is what my data set over here. So I'm closing it. So everybody got a clarity. So I'm closing my data set. So let's come back to the program. So in this program, now what actually I'm doing is pandas module I've loaded df dot. Df is equal to read csv dot sales dot csv I have said. So index underscore call equal to month. So first column is for the index. So please leave that column and consider all other things I have said. So when I've said df, so when I'm printing the df, so look over here, the complete data set has been declared. So in this variable, right now I'm assigning a dataset called as sales.csv. So when I'm printing this, when I simply said df, when I've simply said df, the complete dataset has been printed. So without opening my dataset, the complete dataset has been printed. So now the large values, how many rows and how many columns are there, that are being printed. So now what I want to do, I don't want to print all these things. I want only top 5 values to be printed. So then in that case, I'd be going with df.head. Then I'd be going with df.head. So when I go with this df.head, only top 5 rows would be printed. Top 5 rows would be printed. So when I go with this df.head of 2, same I'm using the head method, I'm using the count as 2. So then starting 2 rows only would be printed. Starting 2 rows would be printed. So that is what the thing. So what are the value you are giving, that number of rows would be displayed. So coming into the next one, df.tail off. I have said df.tail. So tail is a method which is to print the values from the last. So last 5 values, like the last 5 rows would be printed. Last 5 rows would be printed. So here I've declared df.tail of 10. So last 10 values, last 10 rows would be printed over here. So this is what about your tail method. So when you are going with the shape, I have considered df.shape of. So what is the shape? It says 21 rows are there and 3 columns are there. So this is when you go with your shape method. So the number of the size, I mean not the size, a number of rows and a number of columns are there, that would be printed. So now when you are going with this df.info, when you're going with this df.info, what would be happen? The complete information of your data set would be given. So what is the information is? So here you do have a data set. It is a data frame. So now what would be happen? The data type is the complete data set is like data frame. So coming into the one index, 21 entries are there. I mean 21 columns are 21 rows are there. So what is the index is? So from January till what is the last column is there? That column has been declared over here. So now what you are doing? Data columns are, how many columns are there? There are 3 columns. It says it's okay. So now what's happening? What are those columns? I am having the X column, salt column, and spam column. So these are what the columns which you are having. It says. So now what it says? 21 not null. So they are having complete 21 rows. So 21 rows without null values. When you are coming to salt column, you are having 17 not null. What does it means? It means there are 3 null values. There are 3 null values at some different places. So that is the reason you got as 17 not null. So now you got a clarity. There are 21 rows. Now it says 17 not null. I mean, okay, I got a clarity. Like in the salt column, I am having the 3 null values. So I got a clarity for that. So that is the reason I go with the info method. So when I go with this info method, how many columns are there? How many null values are there? How many not null values are there? Each and everything would be declared over here. So this is when you go with your info method. So coming to the next one, I have considered df.describe. So when I said this describe, look over here. It says the count method, it says the mean, it says standard deviation, minimum value. So in the X column, how many values are there? 21 values are there. In salt column, in spam column, what is the count is there? That count has been displayed. So coming into the next one, what is the mean? So if you have added all the columns and perform the mean, So what is the mean for the X column? What is the mean for the salt column? Spam column. That has been displayed. So this is about the standard deviation. Standard deviation. Already everyone is familiar with the standard deviation. Mean, median, mode, standard deviation. The statistics. That without writing the formula, without performing any operation, the standard deviation has been performed over here for this particular column, right? And one thing you need to remember, so sir, you're getting a mean over here, so that's fine. So again, in this case, if you're having the strings, so look over here, when you go with this describe method, in which column you are having an integer or float, only in that case you would be getting this mean value. If you are having a string, Mahesh and some Bala, some XYZ, some random city names or state names are there, so in that case mean can't be performed, minimum can't be performed, and all these things can't be performed. This can only perform if the column is having any integer or float values. So this is about your describe method. So coming into the next one, so these are other predefined methods. So now what actually I'm doing is I'm putting the filters. So what are the filters? Df.x. So df.x means the complete x column will be considered. So look over here. Here I have considered. Let's come with the starting example over here. So here I have considered df of spam comma march. So what I'm saying, in the spam column, in the march row, what are the values there? Please print that I am saying. So that is the reason in the spam row, like in the spam column, in the march row, what are the values there? That has been printed. So this is how you are going with your indexing. This is how you people are going with your indexing over here. So same way now what actually I'm doing, df dot x of JSON. So now what would be happen is in the df, in the dataset called as df, in a column called as x, in the column called as in the row called as json. So in that particular thing, what are the values there that is being printed? So this is how you access the specific items. This is how you access the specific items from the data set. So here what actually I'm doing, three columns are there. So complete data set has been assigned to a variable called as x. So now what I'm doing, from the data set, only x column I want. So that is the reason I have considered x is equal to df of x. So now what would be happen, in this variable x, only the x column would be stored. Only the column called as x, that would be stored. So this is when you go with your assigning the from the complete data set, only single column can be assigned to a single variable also. In this way we can go with it. So coming to the next one, here again I have considered another variable called as y. Y is equal to df of spam. So what would be happen, the spam column data, all the data will be assigned to a variable called as y. So this is when you go with your data set, right? So coming to the next one, so look over here. So df dot x of march. So when I've said df dot x of march, what would be happen, from the x column, from the march row, what are the values there, that would be printed. So this is one thing. So now coming to next one, we are going with the filtering. So what is filtering? Uh, Filtering is to find your data, like in the excel sheet we do for the filters, like the person who got 50 marks in science and who got 40 marks in social, I want only those details. So only those details will be printed, right? So in the same way here also I have considered the filter. I'm placing the condition, I'm placing my condition over here. So what I have said, df dot x greater than 1000. So in the x column, wherever the row is greater than 1000, print all those rows. So not print all those rows, print all those details I have said. So then in that case, it says as January false. In the January row, there is no value greater than 1000. So that is the reason you got false. So wherever you are having greater than 1000, wherever you are having greater than 1000 in this particular x column, all those rows has been printed as a true. So in the march row, in the MER row, or in the MSEAR row, in specific rows it has been true. Only those things has like only in that particular condition it is satisfied. So in that particular places you got it as a true, right? So same way I have placed other condition, df dot x greater than 100 I have said. So in the x column, wherever the value is greater than 100, only those things to be considered as a true. So this is what about your filtering. So now what actually I'm doing, this condition are placed only for one column, are placed only for one column. So now this complete column, like for this particular condition, I'm completely passing for the complete data set. So simply look over here, df of in the brackets I've declared this condition. So in which rows, you are having this true, in whichever the row which you are having the true, those things you are getting as, sorry, so observe here. So wherever the rows you are having true, wherever the rows you are having true, only those rows will be considered df of March, May, June. So wherever the true are there, only those rows will be considered, and only from the complete data set only those details will be printed. This works like, so in social and maths, wherever the student got greater than 50, please put those details. So only those details throughout the data set that would be printed. Only those details throughout the data set would be printed, right? So this is what the concept when you go with your putting the filtering over here. So coming into the next topic, so what we are doing is, so here I have considered a thing called as df dot spam greater than 500. So wherever this condition is true, so only those details stored in the dataset will be printed. Right now, in the spam column, there is no value greater than 500. Or if you have observed over here, all the values are below than 100 only. So that is the reason this condition is not satisfied. At which particular row also you not got any one single condition true. So that is the reason nothing is being printed over here. Nothing is being printed over here. So if you want to check with this data type, if you want to check with this data type, in the data type, so now what you are doing is, so print type of, or do you people know about it? So when you go this print type of df of x, it says pandas.code.series. So if you're considering only single column, then it is to be considered as a code.series. Then it is to be considered as a code.series. So now what I'm doing here is, I have considered double brackets. When you go with this double brackets, what would be happened is, what would be happened is uh, the complete data set will be considered. So you will be getting it as a data frame over here. You'll be getting it as a data frame over here. Alright, so this is what the topic when you go with your putting the condition. So coming into the next one, here I've considered df dot x greater than 500. So here I've placed a condition called as x greater than 500. So now what would be happened is, wherever the condition is greater than 500, in this particular column, wherever you are having the values greater than 500, only those things would be considered as a true, and that only would be printed. Only that would be printed, right? So coming into the next program, so here I'm placing the multiple conditions. So in this way, I'm placing my multiple conditions. So coming into the next program, here I do have a method called as lock. Here I have considered a method called as lock. df dot lock of may comma x. So when I use this lock method, what would be happened is, when I use this lock method, what would be happened is, from the from the may row, from the x column, what are the values there, that will be printed. So this is the alternate method. In the previous thing also you can consider, or in this way also you can consider. So this is what about your lock method. So same as again, when you've gone with your strings, how you have your given your range, the like, what I can say is, you have gone with your list. In the list we have given your range, print a of 1, print a of 1, print a of 2, 1 is to 3. So how we have given our index, all those indexing we are giving over here. So from February row till March row, from February row till March row I have said. So then from February row till March row would be printed, comma. So what this comma will do is, all the columns. So this is when what would be happen, from the February row till March row would be printed, all the columns are being printed. So coming into the next example, what actually I am doing is, I have considered, look over here. Here I've considered df dot lock of is to. I've not declared the starting point and not declared the ending point. So then what would be happen? All the rows will be considered. If I want specific rows range, I'll put it as a Jan till March. So from the Jan till March only will be considered. But I don't want that thing to be happen. I want all the rows to be printed, but only specific columns to be printed. So I've given a specific columns over here. I've given my specific columns over here, right? So this is what the program. So coming into the next one, so what I'm doing is, so instead of a lock method, I'd be going with the iLock method. I'd be going with the iLock method. So when I'm going with this iLock method, what would be happened is, instead of giving these names, I can give the indexing. How we have done in the list, 1 is to 2, 3 is to 4, 1 is to 10. So the same way we can consider. So that is what about when you go with your iLock method. Here I'm giving the indexing name. So when I go with the iLock method, what would be happened is, it would be considered as uh, the indexing position. Now what can I say you is 1 is to 3, 5 is to 7. So what are the value you are giving, that will be considered. So this is when you are going with your iLock method. So coming into the next one, so look over here, iLock of 5. So instead of giving a value, instead of giving the name, I've declared as a 5, iLock of 5. So what would be happen, in all the columns, what are the fifth value, fifth row is there, that would be printed, that would be printed. So now coming to the next one, df dot iLock of 20. So in the 20th column, like sorry, in the 20th row, so what are the values are there, that would be printed. Df dot iLock of is to minus 1. Is to means what would be happen here is all the rows would be considered. When you go with the minus 1, only the last column will be considered. Only the last column will be considered. Right? So that is what the topic. So coming to the next one, df dot iLock of 2 is to 5 comma 2. So from second row till fifth row, and only second column I have considered. Only second column I have considered. Right. So now coming to the next one, here I have considered df dot iLock of 0 is to 7. So from 0th row till 7th row, the details would be printed. The details would be printed. So this is what the topic. So coming into the next one. So in the same way, you are having all the other things. All the other things you are having. So other examples. So some different conditions are there, you can go with it. So lock off, so on. So this is a complete description when you are going with this. All the examples are over here. Right. So coming into the next topic. So lock method, iLock method, different examples are there. So I'll be sharing this PDF. Once please go through this PDF, then you'll be getting a clarity regarding this pandas module. So this is when you go with your pandas module. So this is when you go with your pandas module. Right. So coming into the topic over here. So please look over here. So I'm not yet done with this. So by doing with this, I'll wind up. So please don't hurry up. So just let me complete with this topic. Just other 5 minutes. So here I have considered dictionary. Here I have considered dictionary. So dict is my variable. First score is my key value. Second score is my key value. Third score is my key value. So here I have declared list. So in the key, in the first key, second key, third key, I have declared my values. So now what actually I'm doing, so this is what my variables. So here I'm having the non values, I mean the empty values are there in the first row, third column, in the second row, fourth column, in the third row, first column, my details are empty. So now I want to modify these details, I want to modify my these details. So then in that case, what actually I am doing is I have considered this particular thing. So UMA is equal to, I'm converting this dictionary into the data set, into the data frame, I'm converting it. So now what actually I have considered is, UMA is equal to PD dot data frame, converting that dictionary into a data frame. So when I said UMA, so instead of printing it as a dictionary, it is printing as a data set. It is printed as a data set over here. So now, sorry, I need to declare this. Sorry, I need to execute this. I've missed this line. Hmm. One second, one second. Let us say UMA, the complete data set is being printed. So now thereafter what I'm doing is UMA dot not null. So I'm saying UMA dot not null. So when I've gone with this UMA dot not null, what's actually happening is wherever the values are not null, in that particular places you are getting true. So I have said you in the first row, third position I'm having null value. So in that place you got false. In that place you got false. So in this way you're checking wherever the null values are there, wherever the null values are not there, you're checking. So this is when you go with the not null. So thereafter here I've considered fill now method. After not null, I've considered fill now method. So when I'm going this fill now method, what would be happen is wherever you are having your empty values, all the empty values would be filled with the specific value which you have given. Fill now of 10. So wherever you are having the empty values, in all the places, 10 would be filled. 10 would be filled. So if you want to give some other value, own value can be considered. 1 to 10, what are the values you want? You can consider that. Right? So coming into the next one. So here I've considered UMA dot fill now of method equal to pad. So what is this pad is? the previous value instead of this 10. So I put this into the comments. So now what would be happened is, look over here. Uma dot filna of method is equal to pad. So wherever the none value are having, before that, before the none value, what are the values there? That would be added to the empty value. So when I've executed this, look over here. So instead of this non value, before this I'm having 90. So I got the 90 over here. You got the 90 over here. Right, so coming into the next one, here I've considered, here I'm having 56. Before 56 I'm having, sorry, before this NAND I'm having 56 value. So 56 has been filled over here. Here I don't have any value, so that is the reason I did not got any value over here. Right, so coming to the next one, here I'm using a method called as bfill. So what does bfill will do is, next value, before this empty value, what are the next values there, that would be added. Right now here I'm having nan value. So when I use this bfill, so in this nan value 95 would be filled. So for this 56, for this nan value I don't have any next value, so nothing would be filled over here. So coming into the next one, here I am having nan value. After the nan value I'm having 40, so 40 has been filled. So this is how you are replacing your values. So this is how you are filtering your data, how you are filling your data, how you are rectifying your data, and how you are modifying your data. So this is when you go with your data pre-processing, filtering of your data, filling your data, and all these things can be considered. All these things can be considered when you go with your data pre-processing. So this is about the pandas module. So this is what about the pandas module, right? So now if you have any other doubts in this pandas module, you can ask us. In this pandas module, if you have any other doubts, you can ask us, right? So thank you everyone. Thank you for your valuable time. Thank you for your valuable time, everyone. Right? Yeah. Yeah, sir. Sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. So please fill your feedback form and all the material will be supplied. So please don't worry about your material. So if you have any other doubt, you can ask in the chat. And if you want to give your valuable review, please come over here. Click on reviews. So please drop your valuable reviews over here. So please leave your valuable reviews over here. Right. So if you like this video, please like the video and comment the video over here. Please do like the video and comment it. So if you have liked it, so please do share with your friends and subscribe the Brain Ocean. So for more details, follow us at brainocean.in. And if you Google us, you'd be getting our Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram trading. So please follow us at the social media networks. Yes, sir. Thank you. And so, yeah, thank you, sir. So please do leave your reviews over here. So please do leave your reviews over here. Thank you, everyone.